Okay, so wanted to do a video in regards to getting ready for splitting your bees. There's several of you that have reached out and you've had a successful wintering, which congratulations, that's a big deal. However, usually the following concern a lot of times when you have bees successfully winter is how do I keep them from swarming? And that's where you want to have a little bit of obviously pre-planning, because especially, and once again, preface it, I need to preface this video with saying we're in Western Washington between Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, right dead in the center, right by Olympia. So this is dependent, I'm going to talk about how the weather is here, the time of the year, etc., etc. You want this time of the year, so this is the 7th of April, you can't depend upon doing walk-away splits just because the way the weather is. I would venture to say you really don't want to try doing a walk-away split, i.e. making a split, walking away, letting them raise their own queen. I wouldn't even try doing that here until probably mid-May, if not towards the end of May. Just because of how unpredictable our weather is. I made a bunch of splits with cells last year around the beginning of May, and almost, I think it was 70% of them or so ended up being drone layers from queens that didn't have a chance to mate. There's just the weather turned bad. So you want to use, if your bees are looking really good, and I just popped the, I just popped the lid on a, so here's a perfect example of a, at least I thought this is the one I had open. Yeah, it is, okay. So, I mean, if your overwintered colonies looking like this, where you have 2 deeps full of bees, you're really gonna wanna watch this time of the year in our area. The reason being, the maple flow has started, which is your first main flow. And then next week, we're supposed to get a high of 68 degrees one of the days. So between the flow and then really mild weather, your bees, if they're strong, are probably going to start doing swarm preparations. We just split 120 colonies yesterday, and I only found a swarm cell in one of them, obviously one that I saw. So you kind of have this period of time where the bees, if your colony is looking strong, where the bees are strong, but they haven't quite yet started swarm preparations. And that's really when you want to split them with mated queens. And so here's following, these are our 2 colonies that we've been following, the nuke that we've been following through a year, and then obviously we split them. This is the 2020 queen, or I'm sorry, the 20, now I'm getting mixed up. This was the original queen here. This was the split that we did that has the newer queen last year. And so both of these are probably gonna, well, let's see. Okay, so this is actually a, so they're halfway populated in the bottom box, and then a box of bees. So these can probably wait to be split, but I think this one is 2 boxes full of bees, if I remember right. And here's a perfect example of why you want to always make sure to have good fresh queens. When a queen's going on her 2nd year, it's time to replace her, and I can guarantee you that's one of the reasons that this one isn't as strong as this one, is because that's the older queen. But let's see here, see if I can, this is horrible equipment, I gotta fix this. Okay, so that's 2 boxes full of bees. Yeah, like that's, okay, so that one will definitely need to be split. And what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna show a video of how we were doing splits here earlier, after we're done here, it'll be at the end of this video. But, and I'll do a video kind of walking the steps through, but all you need to do, it's very simple when splitting bees. This is one way of doing it. I mean, there's multiple ways, is split these two apart, put a queen excluder, come back in 4 days, and pull a couple of frames here on the top box and see if there's eggs. If there's eggs, you know the queen is up here because it takes 3 days for an egg to hatch. So if there's still eggs here after you've come back on the 4th day, you know she's up here. You can take this aside, put it wherever you want, and then give this one the new queen. What we're going to do, and I'm going to do a video of this probably either later this week or the beginning of next week, because these are the nukes that we've been following through a year, is that we're going to split this one. We're going to probably just requeen this one first, and then maybe look at splitting it maybe 2-3 weeks up the road. But this is the older queen of the two, and so we want to switch this one out, and I'll show you the procedure for that. Also, once again, for those of you not wanting to use or have a second yard, because the rule of thumb is when you make a split, you move it a mile, at least a mile away, so that the older bees that are foraging don't go back to the original hive. You can leave your split in the same yard. All you have to do, and here's a perfect example. So we've got a 4-way pallet here. So this pallet that these two hives are on are made, the lid's in the way, but it's made to have 4 hives. So what we can do here is when we go to split this one, let's just say for the sake of argument that the queen is up in the 2nd box. Because she's already laying and is established, we don't have to worry about a bunch of bees leaving this box to go back to the other one. Another way of saying that is because she's going to have emerging brood. There's also the queen pheromone with her being in there. We don't have to worry about her losing she'll build up her population a lot quicker than the box where we're putting the new queen. So say the queen is in here, we come back 4 days after putting the queen excluder, there's eggs in there. We can take this one and set it over here with the entrance facing that way. Right now the entrance is facing that way. This one with the queen facing that way. Our new split, which we're just leaving this box and giving a new queen to, can stay there. Both of those can work just fine. Another configuration, say you have 1 hive or 2 hives that you're wanting to split, what you do is you just want to put the split that has the old queen, set her in the new area, the new location, even if that's just next to her, next to your original place. You just want to set that one just like this. Sorry if I'm making this kind of confused. It's very simple, and that's why I'll be doing a video here a little bit later showing it. But take the original queen, set her 180 degrees facing the other direction, leave your new split in the original location where the original queen was. Because any of the older workforce that leaves the queen will come back and help feed your new split, so that new queen has the resources, the bees, to be able to be laying quickly and having the resources to keep that brood warm, and etc., etc. Like I said, I'll do a visual here in a few days. But anyway, so that's kind of the quick way, and then after I'll attach this video of how we were splitting our bees, was it yesterday? So you kind of get a little bit more of a visual of how we're using the excluder to set these bees up for splits. Also, one more last preface or addendum, and that is that once again, remember that with bees, there's 100 different ways to do things. So I'm just showing you one way. For us, we find it the simplest way and the most time effective or cost effective way as well. So once again, I wouldn't look at this time of the year because we're still getting a lot of cold nights and cold weather. Don't split your bees unless you've got 2 boxes full of them. With that said, I'll add one more addendum. Every colony has its own personality, and you will get some colonies that just have a proclivity towards wanting to swarm. So even if they're maybe not 2 boxes jam-packed with bees, just check them for swarm cells. And how you can do that, most swarm cells are going to be created, not always, but most of the time, they'll be formed between the first and second box, that gap. So you can just tip back the second box, smoke them, smoke the bees up so you can see the underneath side of the second box and just look for swarm cells. Swarm cups or queen cups are not uncommon this time of the year. Just check with your hive tool. We'll do a video on this too. Just check with your hive tool, see if there's an egg or a larvae. If there's not, then you don't have to worry about them. They're just having them there just in case. So anyway, here's to a great spring. It felt so good to get those bees split yesterday, and we got a bunch of queens coming in next week to finish up our splits, and then that's kind of it for the splitting side until probably June. We just ordered in a breeder queen from Latshaw, Dr. Joe Latshaw from Ohio, and that's what we'll be grafting off of. So we're pretty excited about introducing his genetics to our apiary. And other than that, I think that's about it for now. So here's the following video now on how we were splitting bees yesterday. Catch you soon. Video here while you guys are working. So what we're doing, today's split day. Our queens are coming in here a little bit later today. And I'm gonna do another video talking about how to split our bees here, or split those 2 nukes that we've been following through a season. But the process here is that about what, 4 days ago, we went, and the bees that were deemed strong enough to split, we put an excluder between the boxes. And then what we do is we come back on the 4th day, because it takes 3 days for the queen's eggs to hatch, and we pop the top and check a couple of frames and see if we can find eggs. And if we see eggs, then we switch, so they just found eggs. So we'll switch this bottom box to this top box rather, to the bottom, and put the excluder back. And then we know that the queen is not in that bottom box, because they just found her in the middle, or the top one. So we'll come back later and pull the top box after they switch them, and that'll be our split. And it'll be given a new queen and moved to another yard. We're also replacing the feeder there with a couple of frames, just so we have we only need the 1 feeder for the top box, which we'll be putting on later. We'll make a video of that. It's a beautiful frame of brood. So once again, we'll just wait here so you can get a visual. So we know the queen's on the top because they found eggs there. Now they're going to switch the box. So the queen's on the bottom. Replace the excluder. That's another important thing, is check the top of that excluder, make sure the queen's not on there. Every once in a while, you'll get one that runs down to the excluder. So there's the queen. Her bee's on the bottom. And the excluder goes back. And then this will be our split that we'll pull a little bit later. We wait till either early morning or late afternoon, once the bees have more or less stopped flying, just so we have a good population of bees through the 2 boxes.